Welcome back to Black Lotus Buds. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Michael. Thanks for joining us.
We're kicking off our 13th episode on the channel where we're talking all things trading cards. And today we're going to be discussing True Masculinity, red and green decks formerly known as the Gruul clans of Magic the Gathering, and our newest segment reveal. So exciting stuff. And Michael, I hope you're sitting down off the bat because we've got a fresh one tonight.
All right.
Hasbro Entertainment and Legendary Entertainment have announced there is a Magic the Gathering live action film and soon to be TV universe and TV shows in the works. I have no idea.
That's pretty crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I'm flooded with kind of thoughts because I'm like, you said, okay, Hasbro and Magic the Gathering?
Legendary Entertainment.
Now, have they made good stuff before?
Well, one of them, I think Legendary, has done a Pokemon movie called Pokemon Detective Pikachu. I think there's been a couple other various dabbles in this universe.
Let me tell you, Detective Pikachu was fire. So, and I'm not a big, I'm older, man. I start to get picky about changing stuff. So that was like a live action. It wasn't a cartoon, but it wasn't like Dragon Ball Z live action, which is like an abomination. It was good. So that's really exciting. I am excited for an avenue to like get deeper into Magic because I barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
With the Magic the Gathering, but that's pretty crazy, dude.
I don't know how they're gonna get some of these monsters and stuff that we've been talking about. Our friend with the saw blade hands, Unstoppable Slasher. I mean, I don't know if if he'll make an appearance, but
it's like, Magic doesn't really have a story, does it?
I think there are so many old stories that have kind of, over the years transformed and there's been a lot of folklore that's come with them, but I feel like it's just kind of been not as streamlined as like the average person would hope to be able to get like a little bit of an understanding of everything about this world and this universe. So I think that's going to be an opportunity for them to really showcase like a way of explaining to people who have no idea what Magic is, like what in fact, the love about this game is.
I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about that combination of like those studios. I don't really know what Hasbro's really done with themselves, so I guess that's a wild card in my head. That sounds good. Sometimes, man, I hate to be negative, but I hear about like there was a thing called Alita Battle Angel. It was like I don't know, like an animated film. It was this like story of a robotic girl, but it was like really a cute story and like it was like coming of age plus superhero like theme. And I heard that Disney bought the rights to it and there's like a part 2, and it just worried me because I didn't know exactly how much they would respect of the original like IP. But Detective Pikachu, I mean, they dealt with the Pokemon franchise, and they hit the nail on the head. So,
cool.
I mean, hopefully they'll do the same, and then we'll have. I mean, you said it was a movie or a show?
So I think this only came out just now. This is totally fresh off the press. There hasn't been a whole lot of information about it, so I'm sure there's just nothing but speculation. Right now, it does seem like they're going to be focused on a movie, and then maybe depending on how successful it is, or just concurrently, they're going to be working on a TV film, like a TV series of some sorts. And with Magic, it's just wild because it's all been for like decades about this crazy universe constructing, like world building, like all these creative stories are involved in this universe. So what are they going to extract from that? What are they going to actually like focus on? Is it going to be like this grand overarching concept that incorporates everything in with Magic? Or are they really going to try to put together this like easy to digest approach that just gives everybody kind of what they're looking for and gives you an easier understanding of what the game is, and then perhaps gets people actually involved with playing it? Or just enjoying the folklore itself. There's so much to it. I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, it would totally make me more hype. Like I get into stuff for that kind of lore. I mean, like when I was pulling magic packs and I got Unstoppable Slasher. It's like, dude, aside from like you telling me about them and like the way I felt about that already, I probably wouldn't have pulled that card. But because of the nostalgia, I'm like, oh no, dude, this is what we talk about, and now I know this card, and I'm like, I gotta keep this. And I feel like that would be like you watch the movie or the show, and you have like a theme that you like, and then you're like, you see it in a deck, and you're like, you know what, I don't know who I'm playing this with, but I'm gonna buy. This was my shit in the movie, so I want to get this. And then I feel like that would definitely get people in. It's wild to think that they could pull like the potential of like a Disney. And when I say that, you know, like Disney just owns so many IPs, and it's like Magic has done that, right? Like they've started doing Lord of the Rings, and so like, is there potential for like this Magic super entity, like making shows and movies and you know, consumable content? Because like now you can have a Lord of the Rings, you know, contract, and now, like, you know what I mean? Now Gandalf is back. It's like, well, wait a second, like, but I guess I'm probably getting too excited and ahead of myself.
Yeah, well, that's where my train of thought was going. You know, Dungeons and Dragons, another one that was a big franchise that they merged a little bit with this. I think the upcoming, gosh, oh my gosh, it was just set to release Final Fantasy. The upcoming Final Fantasy sets that they're going to be dropping later in this year. I mean, there's going to be a lot to be looking forward to. So I don't know. I don't really know when the movie will drop. I'm sure we'll kind of get inch our way closer to a release date, and then we'll probably know a little bit more about, you know, the backstory of what they're actually doing with it. But it should be exciting. I definitely was like, this is cool because it's just right out of the gates, some exciting news that's out there, and we don't get a whole lot of that in Magic. There's just a bunch of new set drops and, you know, more folklore, more stories behind stuff that's already been out there, or just, you know, incorporating new. I always say it all the time, deck ideas into the way of playing, especially on Arena. But this is another element to it, which should be fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. We'll see what happens.
I hope this stuff gets more popular, because one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was just this like comment I got at work today, and I'm pretty much working with people that I really enjoy and love to be around. So, and that's new for me. But I wanted to preface this with that so you understand, like, it's not like this big negative thing. But one of the ladies I work with, she's an older lady, and she's like, I mentioned Pokemon sometimes, or like trading cards, and she'll like basically like kind of, I guess, belittle it, like it's very silly or like ridiculous, and it's why I wanted to add true masculinity as a talking point, because like, I'm about to start proposing that you're not really a man unless you're collecting trading cards. Like, I'm about to start spinning this in like a whole new direction. I think she like made a comment about dating. She's like, yeah, that I have a rule, like I don't date anybody that collects Pokemon cards and stuff like that.
Oh my
And I'm
gosh.
just like, it's this weird. I do understand it to a certain
Stigma.
extent, and like I also get like the attraction, you know, someone might have to a very masculine person, you know, changing your oil in your car, and like, you know, working construction, and I get that, and I get those like hyper masculine roles, but it's like, I understand that you can do those things, you know what I mean? I was driving around on a motorcycle. It was my only means of transportation for a year, and it's like, I did all my own maintenance on it. I took it apart. I did all this stuff, and it's like the whole time I had Pokemon cards in my bedroom. So it's like, you know, like I want to pull this like, no, you're a man if you're collecting Pokemon. I'm gonna win them over somehow.
I like
I
it.
don't know what that stigma is. Like, it's just, I just find it. I always think, I'm like, you know, that person who's saying that, and they're being genuine. Again, this is like someone that I really enjoy working with, like, and I give her shit all the time too. So it's like, I want to know what they have or own that's like that, because you know everybody has some stupid stuff. Like, like they have that collection of like porcelain dolls and like, or you know what I mean, something that you and I might be like, this is so stupid, but it has like some meaning or value to them. I wish I knew it so I could be like, oh, like your, you know, your porcelain dolls or your thumbnail collection. We really, they'd be like, oh, those thumbnails are from Germany. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, because I feel this depth to trading cards, and it kills me when anybody is just like has this like weird stigma around it.
Yeah,
like you can't be a man and have cards.
Yeah, you're onto something there. My like either grandmother or I think it was my great grandmother had a collection of those kind of creepy dolls, and I was watching a video in the last couple of years from old footage that was on a VHS tape, like a little tiny like small one that you pop in to a larger VHS tape that actually allows you to play it on a TV. It's like this crazy old technology just from not a couple years ago, what it feels like, you know, a couple decades ago now at this point. And it was funny how I think my dad recording was like, man, this is one heck of an assortment of these dolls. And he's kind of just alluding to it being a little bit creepy. And she has this, like, she's talking about how excited she is with this brand new light bulb that got installed at the top of the closet or something that now showcases these dolls in better lighting and this glass in front of them so you can get right up close to them without having to touch them. And you know, it was cool just because I'm like, all right, well, I didn't even know that this was even around when I was that young. I must have just totally avoided. I was too small to even, you know, comprehend memories of at that point. But now looking back, I'm like, that was just one of her hobbies that she enjoyed. My dad was just kind of shitting on it, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, it's nothing too crazy with this. She was having a good time. I think those ended up being worth a lot of money, especially if we were to have them still. People collect.
Well, because it's like we all feel that way about something
with collecting.
But
it's just like an older way.
But I mean, like you could take, like, you know, there was a point where I was very harsh against my friends that were like drinking and partying because I wasn't like into it, and like, but they would be, I mean, like all about just drinking and like drinking as much as possible, and it's like that, it to me was lame for where my life was. But like, you could also anything dumb. You could have like I got this Bud Light like sign from the original factory, it hangs up in my garage, and it's like, there's cool shit to everything, no matter how dumb it is.
Exactly.
But I mean, obviously, there's nothing more masculine than Pokemon and trading cards. I just want to keep putting that out there.
The ultimate. The pinnacle.
That's right.
Yeah. Very nice, man. Well, I guess we'll have to keep this chain moving and see if we can get more people into it. Has there been any polls in the last few days, few hours, few minutes of yours that you've?
No, I've been putting off. I'm like been getting, I would call it like a lull. I've been pretty hard on myself, but it's actually no problem. So I don't know why I do that. I get in these funks where I'm just like immobilized because I'm putting so much pressure on myself. But tomorrow I get to open, and I've been dying to open this. It is a half a booster box of the sorcery cards.
Oh,
and so
cool.
They're special, and I don't even know that I do have a card I pulled that I really liked. It was full of like fantasy creatures, but like I don't know if I really care for the theme. It's like Arthurian legends, but it's all like this medieval stuff, and it's like, I don't know, some of it's kind of just lame. Like, one of the cards is like The Rock, and they've got this doofy guy. And it's not that concept is dumb or the card is dumb. It's just not my favorite theme. So, like, you know, if you had that same card, but it was like a darker, like, you know, Diablo-esque, bloody and all, and it's just honestly just a rock covered in blood, I would like it. So the theme isn't all that, but it has those chase cards that are like 1 in every 40 boxes. So it's like the excitement to pull that is like, I don't know, it's eating me up. I'm pretty stoked about it.
Well, I'm excited for you because when you, from the last podcast, when you dropped the a dozen or so sorcery cards into the mix, and you kind of just got me totally speechless with how much was actually in that one package that I thought would just be a gem mint card. After the podcast, looking at all of those cards, I just was eating them all up. And Helpful Hob, I think I've seen you showcased in one of your videos on YouTube. And seeing that card in person, I don't know, something about gnomes I really love. Similar to your passion with some of these types of cards and whatnot, maybe, creature type or something, animals and cats. The Helpful Hob, I just loved so much. And it was, I think, the very first of those sorcery cards that you put in a little group that I saw. And so now I have this like weird attachment to this like ordinary card, common card. It's probably not worth much in the game. Or maybe like even playing in a competitive way. But to me, I fucking love the guy. And now he's proudly displayed along with those gem mint cards. So I, once again, have to thank you for allowing Sejum to bestow it upon me.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, you're
I'm
getting me
glad
into
you
it.
like the gnome. I don't know. There was one of those cards. I think I couldn't remember if I'd ever sent you sorcery, but I'm like, just feeding you different because I enjoy the different card types in like PSA. I'm trying to bring you like some of the things I enjoy and see if you enjoy them too. But one of them I think has a little alpha, like an A, where the copyright symbol is, and that one was I think an alpha card. So it's like one of the Kickstarter cards. I think it's just like a common or something.
Oh, cool.
But
Yeah, you had sleeved
look
it.
Down,
Yeah.
there's like a C now, like a copyright C, or maybe a B for the beta cards, depending on which ones you have. But one of them I think has an A and that's like the they have a Magic version of that too. I can't remember what they're called. They have white edges, I think.
Yep. Like the original sets. Yep.
Yeah, and it's the same. It's like an original card from
Very
Sorcery.
cool. Yeah, that was Pit Vipers, and it was let me just grab it and I'll read. I thought the description was hilarious. Not like the mechanics of the card. This is it. It just says a terrifying tangle of ordinary beasts. I just like that for some reason.
It is cute.
Yeah, just a fun little what is it? Onomatopoeia or something? The terrifying tangle, or I don't know what type.
Alliteration.
There we go. Thank you.
Alliteration. Yeah.
Thank you.
I wish. See, I gotta branch out. I'm not gonna do it for probably months, but I'm gonna try to branch out into some like real life circles because like things like that I found that cute too, and I never really appreciated that card in that way. I just want to find like little groups that can nerd out about shit. Dude, I just like everybody, all men should just have like I'm gonna make this a thing. I'm gonna literally do all the most masculine things and then like rip open packs of cards and be like real men. Like
yeah, we'll have a channel devoted to just men with beards or something ripping open packs.
No, I'm about to write that down. Like.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, I'm excited for you with Sorcery. That's been a card game that I've been wanting to learn a little bit more about. And I think you've set it up perfectly with even you, the experienced veteran with some of these card games, and still not fully comprehending the game of Sorcery. For some reason, that just gets me really excited to just learn a lot more about it. I don't know why. I don't feel as intimidated.
Well, in the beginning, it was because I couldn't get my hands on a deck. Like, I just couldn't get the cards. They were out, but they weren't. Like, you couldn't just go buy cards. So, like, I ended up with a booster box from Alpha, which was it was insane to get at the time. And that was it. That's all I had. So I couldn't play. And I could play on, like, Tabletop Simulator. But it was very difficult and clunky, and it was like the barrier to entry of learning how to maneuver that was like a kind of a turnoff from learning the game itself, because I wasn't really learning Sorcery. I was just learning how to maneuver this weird VR. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. But there's potential. I still got to learn more Magic and stuff like that. I did have some news. You say, cool. Hold on?
No.
I did have some news I wanted to share that I just found out about as well. This is for Pokemon, and we actually talked about this on one podcast, that there was like an illustration like contest, and I talked about I think some of the art on the cards. And now I think this is real. I'm like actually stoked about this. This isn't just like a new news blurb. It's like they're going to have those available for if you buy something at a local shop or online. They'll include them with your purchase as like promotional cards. But so these people that they drew these cards, they're gonna be real cards now. You can go out and get. And I want them. There's one. There's one I don't like. It's a toxicity. It's like an electric frog. It's like the perspective is weird on it, but I'm the least hype about it. And there's like this Pikachu scratching its ear, like and yawning, and I don't know why. I just have to have that.
Yeah, you were
Hopefully
talking
it's
about like
reasonable.
different. Yeah, like how you've loved these different scenes with some of these original Pokemon. You said like Charmander like picking his teeth with a bone, like something that you were just like something like that is how you just appreciate the game in another way, or more so by just
Because it
seeing
like
the character that you know and love in just a different setting that you haven't seen him in before.
it's bringing it to like real life. Because like I have a cat. I've lived with dogs plenty of times, and it's like it's just real life. It's boring. You know what I mean? They go to the window, they stare at it. There's nothing there. They come back, and it's like bringing that kind of droll reality to Pokemon. It like allows me to be even more immersed, almost like this could be
Nice.
real because
Yeah.
here is this real Pikachu scratching its ear.
Nice.
There's another one that's like a for alligator, and it has like sun coming through the water. There's some like Magikarp in the background, but it's very basic and blocky, but still a great Pokemon card. I love that they do this weird like they switch like this card's painted, this card's like art, like basic art style. This one's like a CGI model. They're cool, man. I just hope it's not like it's been recently with all of the people fighting to get cards, and like I'm not gonna do that really. If I need cards and I want new ones and it's that important, I'll do my work ahead of time, try to order from the Pokemon Center. And like I didn't do that this time, and I'm just gonna miss out on what is it? The newest Pokemon one. I'm drawing a blank. It's not Surging Sparks. It's the Prismatic
Evolutions. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not fighting people over that. And I can appreciate that because having that high demand is what helps me be into my hobby. Like it brings the cards value, and they have value because there's scarcity. But I'm not. It's just not part of the hobby I love, and I'm not so pressed. That you know what I mean? Magic and Pokemon, they're so big. I'm not gonna get upset about missing a set or something. It's not the end of the world. And then maybe one day I'll get my hands on some, and it'll be cool.
Yeah, there's definitely more to come. And all it takes is just a couple months nowadays before a whole new set is dropped. And then, in my position, you actually get to see how that plays out in the competitive space. And after this, recently hanging out with another one of my friends and really comprehending his love of the game and how he fell in love with one deck strategy. That is one that's now entered the discussion table for us to talk about tonight. So I want to talk to you about Gruul, Gruul in Magic. So last podcast we were talking about Boros, and you fully now comprehend and love the strategy of white and red, which was how I got in the game. Yep.
I do like that strategy. Like it seems like it'd be my style too.
Straightforward. Yeah, I mean it's just to the point. There's not a lot that it's hiding. And this tonight is another one, Gruul. So this one is red and green. Okay, so doing a little bit of homework on this, just some facts here. It's named for the Gruul clans on the plain of Ravnica. So I guess a lot of this stuff is going right back to Ravnica, which again kind of got released in 2005. So to put this in layman's terms, it was like the storyline progressed. Now the creators, Waxy, right, Wizards of the Coast, WotC, they wanted to help kind of put all of these ideas into some folklore. And with that, they really helped like solidify the 10 two-colored decks in Magic. So pick any 2 of the 5 colors, and that is one of the 10 guilds in the game. So last time you asked that I kind of shortened down after a long-winded way of talking about Boros to ask, exactly what is it? And this is what I've come up with Gruul. So again, it's red and green, and what I've put here is Gruul is the clan that specializes in going both wide and tall, taking sudden urges and impulses and channeling them into large communities of small creatures while protecting the few powerful beasts that seek victory in one swift attack. And I think that does help kind of encompass what this design of these 2 colors and how they merge together, what you're gonna see when it's being played out.
Now, because I remember from Boros now, so we have Boros and we have Gruul, and Boros, I thought that was similar to the Boros strategy. Because, I mean, the red makes sense, right? Because the red is the same thing in both decks. So that's the, quick action cards, right?
Yeah.
But I thought in the white was also, you're waiting to kind of, swoop in.
Yes.
So how is the green different than the white?
So, with
in these.
Great question. So, white, there's a lot of flying. A lot of the time, there's a lot of flying with these white cards. And there's a lot of protection cards. So if you're thinking creatures, you could assume there might be a white flying card that shows up. If you're thinking spells, you're thinking invincible, indestructible, you're perhaps hexproof on one of your creatures or many creatures, all your creatures. Sometimes there's a card out there. Hexproof, meaning that your other opponent can't target one particular card that you have. That could be for the rest of the turn, or it could be on an every turn scenario. There are some cool battles. One in particular that I love that is very easy. I think it's called Invasion of I think it's Invasion of Dominaria, but I might be wrong about the name. It's an easy one. It's 2 mana. Once you get on the battlefield, you just destroy it. It only has 3 life. You actually want to destroy your own battle, because once it's destroyed, now you get the perks of having the battle work as essentially an enchantment on the battlefield for you. Sometimes it flips over and it's a creature. But this one I'm talking about is basically at the end of your turn, any creature that attacked is now going to get untapped and get a +1/+1 counter on it. Or maybe it doesn't get untapped. Either way, it's a ridiculous ability for a very cheap mana cost card. And at any time, you can sacrifice it, and then it gives all of your creatures hexproof until end of turn. So you don't have to cast anything out of your hand to just be able to use its ability and sacrificing itself and give you that insane ability to protect everything you have.
Are we talking about one particular card or
one particular card, which is just a white card that really drives down that point of protecting your creatures? So that's really what I'm trying to get at right now. Now, taking a step towards Gruul and how that kind of compares with this, the green is very much like white in that it's all about community. It's all about protecting many and not too many times focused on one particular creature, or saving one enchantment or something that you may have on the battlefield. But with that, there comes other perks. So green cards, you're going to see a lot of these mechanics like trample, especially if it's a green and a red card. You're going to find landfall, which is a mechanic that has been around for since the beginning of time in Magic and is really good in just ramping up your ability to play more mana cost cards early on.
So what does landfall do?
Landfall is essentially these triggering abilities where either you can play 2 lands during your turn. So that one card that I mentioned podcasts ago from my buddy's deck that he loves so much, Hug's Grizzly Guardian, that was released at a Bloomburrow. And one of the mechanics on the card is you may play an additional land on each of your turns. that's in its sense like landfall. There are other cards, and one or several that we'll talk about later tonight, very soon, that incorporate.
Well, dang, that sounds powerful.
It's very powerful, and especially if your deck is built around it, so that you're not just getting all these lands on the battlefield and not being able to use them. And that's key. It's like you don't just want to stack your deck with so much of a land drop where all your cards are doing are just dropping more lands on the battlefield, and there's nothing for you to do with all that land. You don't want to be finishing every turn with untapped mana. Yes, it's wonderful if you're playing that poker approach where you're trying to hide, what your strategy is and let your opponent kind of guess what might you have that could be played on their turn, such as like an instant card that you might need 6+ mana to play, some of these crazy ones. But, there's that fine line where you don't want to just not have anything to play with. So trample, landfall with the red, there's the haste. Instant spells are going to be common in this type of a deck that are removing blockers or just shutting down blockers. There's cards that are out there that's like, all right, pick 3 target creatures they can't block this turn. Well, that's huge if you can just force your opponent to not block with any of their shitty creatures. Now, if all they have is to block with their strong 5/5 creature, and they're up against one of your dinosaurs, which is like a 12/12 or 7/7, they're going to be totally screwed. They're probably going to die because they have to block something so they don't lose the game in that turn, and really just helps build that strategy into to defeating your opponent. So key points about the deck: quick ramp ups, high power and toughness creatures, and like I was saying, wide and tall, right? Wide meaning you can get a whole bunch of these 1/1 tokens that might be used to tap for mana, so that landfall comes into play. Or you're just getting them all out there to then use to get your crazy dinosaur on the board or any other insanely powerful creature, and then have that as your focal point. So it's this cool kind of unknown, which are you going to kind of lean on? You're probably going to lean on the wide aspect in the early game and then use it to get those tall creatures on the battlefild right afterwards. And then the rest of those talking points.
I don't know why, but I don't know if it's maybe because I got a little lost in the Boros conversation, and so maybe that's why. But I just feel like the way you've presented this is like I would want to play Gruul instead of Boros. Like I just feel like it's stronger. Like why even play Boros if you have Gruul?
Boros?
Maybe it's because I've also been at the other hand of those stupid, like, I guess I've suffered 2 giant green monster cards, and so maybe I don't really have that same experience against a white deck. So, like, the way you're describing this, I'm just like, obviously, I would pick green because I can do that thing that I've seen done to me.
Well, there's not only are we talking about a red card that has no green mana in it, and a green card that has no red mana in it, and those synergizing, but we're also talking about cards that are both green and red that require both colors to be played, because the synergies in those cards really start to define this Gruul focus on
Style.
yeah.
That makes sense.
The other 2 points that I want to talk about this deck idea is direct damage in both spells and triggers, and then stifling blockers, which I've kind of glossed over, which is pretty much like as you would expect. So it's going to be able to prevent your opponent from blocking the way that they're expecting to block. So that can really shake up the game. Early game, late game, doesn't matter. It's going to shake up the game at the point that you're now stifling their blockers. But these triggers in Gruul are some of the, in my mind, like the most, there's so much weight to having a trigger like Bonehorde Dracosaur that we had brought up that other podcast. And I'll read the part that is so exciting about it. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top 2 cards of your library, which means at the beginning of your turn, you're now taking the top 2 cards off your deck, putting them face up, essentially in exile, and you're going to be able to play them this turn. If you exiled a land card this way, create a 3/1 dinosaur creature token. If you exiled a non-land card this way, create a treasure token. and a treasure token is an artifact that can be used to be sacrificed for mana. So it's either going to be giving you mana or it's going to be giving you a 3/1 creature, both of which, one or both of them is going to be triggered because you're automatically exiling those top 2 cards off of your deck at the beginning of your turn. So that triggering ability happens without spending mana, without needing to do really anything other than just hope that your opponent isn't trying to, focus on destroying this card. And I think that's where this deck, the downfall is this deck idea relies heavily on maybe 4 or more very, very powerful cards embedded in your deck and a whole bunch of little creatures that will help you get those larger creatures out there early. But your opponent's going to know that. They're going to know that that is the strategy of this deck. And if they have a card that's destroy target creature in their hand, they're probably going to be saving it until they see one of these massive monsters show up and then know, okay, you've been building for this moment. Now let me take you out in this moment and see if that's enough to overcome you and ultimately win. So, there's a lot going on with it.
I like this. I don't know if it's me or if maybe your segment is just this good, because this is the first time, like, the way you kind of present, I guess breaking it down in this deck style is helping, because you're giving me a foundation from, like, a perspective from which to come from. And then when you say, like, okay, now you have this card and you're waiting to obliterate this monster, it's like now I have this reference where I can go, okay, I'm against this 2 colors of deck. This is when I want to save this card for. And it's like now I don't even need to know. I don't know. It seems so overwhelming, man, when you get like this infinite well of cards and strategy. Yeah. But like, I guess breaking it down into decks is a really good way to start breaking down like where to come from. Because now you can be like, okay, I like this style. I might play this, and these are the things that I would look out for and look to do. That's really good. I like it.
Yeah.
I normally don't. I don't usually have like a takeaway. Maybe I'm just eating my vitamins, and now I can remember things. But I like it, man. I'm gonna start my catalog for destruction against you. I know I can't. I won't beat you, but
well, hey, I mean, I'll give you 2 cards for you to tell me, which one you would actually want to see coming out of a deck of yours in our segment that we love so much, this or that. So tonight, we're actually going to do it just a slight difference from these other times. We've always been talking in the aspects of standard play, which is a 60-card deck. Could be more cards, but it has to be at least 60 cards. Build a deck. This is usually what I'm talking about because I love standard play so much. And then it's just first to lose 20 life pretty much wins the game, or if you get 10 poison counters, you lose. So that's really how you're going to beat somebody. In Commander, which is now going to be the discussion for this or that tonight, that again is now 40 life you start the game with. You have to have at least 100 cards in your deck. They cannot be duplicates. You can only have one of every card, and the 100th card is your commander, which your opponent knows what it is and is proudly sitting in the commander zone until you're able to play it once you have enough mana at whatever point in the game. So tonight, we're going to be looking at 2 different commanders from Gruul, and you tell me if you had either of these in your command zone, which do you think would actually have the competitive advantage? No right or wrong answer, but I really want to pick your brain and hear your thoughts, okay?
All right, I'm ready.
All right, so the first one tonight is Omnath, Locus of Rage. This is from Battle for Zendikar, and it's a 5/5 creature, and these are the abilities. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 5/5 red and green elemental creature token on the battlefield. Okay, so this is very much in line with the term landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, something is happening. In this case, you're putting a 5/5 elemental creature token onto the battlefield. And then the other ability of this card is whenever Omnath or another elemental you control dies, so any other elemental creature dies, such as one of those tokens, that you created. Whenever it dies, Omnath deals 3 damage to target creature or player, which just means if it's on the battlefield and it didn't die, but another elemental creature of yours died, now this creature is going to be dealing 3 damage to target creature or target player. Put the 3 damage wherever you want. That damage is yours to decide where it goes. Okay? And I know you love the artwork. So Omnath, Locus of Rage, is this very ethereal, green kind of unknown being with these weird claw hands that are also ethereal in different colors. And it just gets your mind racing. What the hell is this and what is it doing? And one other part of this card, which we always mention, mana cost. This one is 7, 3 colorless, 2 mountain, 2 forest. So for those who are listening. So any questions about this Omnath?
Mana, one more time.
7.
For me.
7 mana.
Okay.
It's a 5/5 creature. Okay. Lots of abilities.
All right. Okay, I got it.
Okay. All right. And now we're pairing it with that tonight, which is Etali Primal Conquer. This one is a 7/7 creature. It's also 7 mana, but no green mana. So just 5 colorless, 2 mountains. And these are the abilities. It has Trample, which...
Wait, hold up. The other card, those abilities were all one card?
Yep, yeah, all of it was on that one card. It does the landfall ability,
shit.
and then
Dude, I thought that was that. I thought the second mechanic was that. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, so this is again like
I'm
commanders.
Biased because this guy sounds OP as fuck.
Commanders or those cards that have a shit ton of text on them because people and a commander is a legendary creature, and these legendary creatures usually have a lot of stats. So people build an entire 100 card deck based off of one particular card because these are usually OP as fuck and everybody wants to have them. You don't want to overwhelm your deck with them, but if you can use it as your commander and it be your go-to card where on turn 7, if it takes you 7 turns to get 7 mana, ideally you're going to be then playing this card. So
yeah,
we go back to that tonight. Etali Primal Conqueror. 7/7. The other guy was a 5/5. This is a 7/7. Has Trample, and this is what happens. When Etali Primal Conqueror enters the battlefield, each player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. You may cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. Okay? So he comes on the battlefield. You've got 7 mana. You play Etali. Now you, on your first card off the top of your deck, is, let's just say it's a 5 mana sorcery spell. Now your opponent pulls a card and it's a land. They pull a card, it's a land. They pull it's a card, the land. They pull it's a card, now it's a creature. So now they are done pulling cards, and now you can play their creature and your sorcery for free without paying their mana cost, including if it's a totally different color. If you don't have, say it's a black and a blue card, you can play it because of this card specifically saying without paying its mana cost. Okay? On top of this ability, it has for 9 colorless mana and 1 Phyrexian forest mana, which I'm not even going to... let's just call it a forest. So for 10 mana, you can transform Etali, and then it becomes an 11/11 with Trample and Indestructible. And whenever Etali Primal Sickness, which is what it turns into, whenever that deals combat damage to a player, they get that many poison counters. And Etali Primal Sickness, if you do transform it into it, it goes from a 7/7 to an 11/11. So it would be dealing 11 poison damage to your opponent. And mind you, once you have 10 poison damage, game over. And Etali Primal Conquer, it's a dinosaur. It's a very large dinosaur on the card. Kind of looks like a hybrid between a brontosaurus or something and a T-Rex.
What did you say about the poison? If you have 11, it's over?
So in the game of Magic, in like a standard game, you start with 20 life, and you lose by either losing all your life or getting 10 poison counters. So if a creature that has 2 power has Toxic 1, then you would get 1 poison counter. If a 2 power creature has 7 Toxic 7, and deals you any damage at all, you take any damage at all from that creature, then you will get 7 poison counters. And once you reach 10, game is over. So Etali Primal Sickness doesn't have Toxic in the beginning. He's just a 7/7 dinosaur that allows you that cool ability without, spending mana on a card that comes off the top of the library. If you have 10 mana and can transform him into that 11/11, it has this weird ability, which is whenever it deals combat damage to a player, they get that many poison counters. So this card doesn't necessarily have Toxic, but it will give the opponent a ton of Toxic counters, just depending on how many, how much damage the opponent can block. And with 11, I've made the mistake of blocking in the past with a 1/1 creature. Well, I lost the game because 10 damage from Etali got dealt to me, and each of those damages meant that I got that many poison counters, and all you need is 10 to lose the game. So, this or that, Michael, for a commander.
It seems, honestly, it just seems easy, but I guess I could be wrong. And now, is that the only criteria? Is it for commander?
Yeah,
which am I choosing?
Yeah, it as your commander, as a card that you would want to build an entire deck around. A deck that incorporates Gruul, the strategy that we've now discussed tonight. Of that, what would you say? This or that? Omnath or Etali? Which do you want on the board intimidating your opponent?
I'm gonna go with that. I like when you read the first one, I thought there was no way I would choose anything else, but it's like I just see like the poison thing. It's just too strong. In addition to the rest of the card, even with the additional cost, I think. So I would choose that. That would be the card I would build a deck around.
Well, we will agree on this. However, a lot of our listeners who are veterans in Magic would disagree. Omnath, I pulled because it's such a staple of the Gruul strategy, and Etali is a card that I love. It came out more recently, so it's not been around as long, and it's a very, very fun card. So that card tonight, the one that you chose, that's a fun card to just be able, because you never know what's coming off the top of a deck that you can play for free. And sometimes it's nothing good. And then sometimes it is the other opponent's strategy that they just lost and now gave to you and could easily help you. So Omnath, I think, is the favorable card with diehard fans because of the landfall, and just having a little bit more of an ability to kind of direct that 3 damage. It could just perpetuate your opponent from losing, or you could kind of kill off specific creatures that you might need and ultimately lean into that end game strategy more. But I'm with you. Etali is so fun. Right when he's played, something is going to happen that could very much benefit you beyond belief. If you pull out like a 12 mana card that you don't have to pay any mana to play, there you go right there. That's your answer. That's a win right there. And then also having that ability that you can spend the extra mana at a later turn, or if you had enough mana in one turn, which you probably won't, but paying that heavy cost to get him to flip over as an 11/11 that now becomes like the terror of which your opponent is going to be having nightmares about. So very fun. And again, just a little bit more insight into the game, into the Gruul strategy, into the Gruul clan, and the synergy with this green and with this red color combinations. And it goes without saying,
I like.
dinosaurs are
I
thrown
wish.
in the mix. There's a lot of
I wish I
dinosaurs
could
in these.
hold these cards and like just appreciate them in their fullness. See, that's like I'm telling you, I gotta get in this like live, real life, IRL, just life. Actually, it's not even anything special.
Oh my gosh! Well, let me tell you. So Omnath has been around for a long, long time. He's probably like the value of the card is probably like the cost of purchasing one of these regular Omnath cards is rather low. But what do you think the costs, if you had to just kind of guess, between these two, which is the most expensive and how much would you think it would cost? What would you say? Just throw out a number. We're just talking about both of them. Yeah, of the two, it doesn't matter which. Just say, I would think that either of them would be this much. What number are you throwing out?
Based on what you told me, I would guess, assuming that they're of equal scarcity, I would assume maybe the former card would be $45, and that maybe the one that we chose would be maybe 10. That would be a guess.
Well,
but I don't understand,
pricing.
If they're limited print,
yeah.
if they're in print anymore or not.
Well, once they get rotated out of standard in a lot of the time, it can definitely decrease the value of the card, only because it's more or less decreasing the priority and the playability, because a lot of players nowadays are stuck in modern, which is what I was all about and am all about. It's just like essentially all of the sets that they've released in the last 3 years is like the easiest way to assume like that's usually what it is. They go another year and then they knock off the fourth year of cards and they reduce it back down to like the most 3 newest sets, or three what I'm trying to say. Goodness gracious. 3 years and all the sets of the last 3 years. So Omnath has dropped in price down, and I'm only looking at the regular card, down to $1.70. He's not worth much at all. But again, worth a lot in a deck. Itali, still in standard, I believe, came from oh my gosh, I can't remember what set he came from, but one of the newer sets in the last couple of years, and he's $85. You can get ones that are real cheap though. I mean, like not near mint foil, raw. You just find something that might be damaged for a lot less. But these are just like general card prices off of TCG. And again, I think it just speaks to how people recognize that in a modern deck, if you can put Itali in there, you really want to put him in there if you've got enough mana or can get to enough mana to play him. And there's nothing like, he coming out of nowhere. Even if you, like, there's other cards. Gosh, there's a sorcery card. Forgive me, no, it's an artifact card. You play it at the end of your turn. You just get to pull the top card off of your deck, and the mechanic of the card is Discover 5, which just means pull cards off of the top of your deck until you pull a card that is 5 mana or less, and then now you can play it this turn without paying its mana cost. And cards like that are amazing. Chimil, Chimil. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but that's the card I'm referring to, which just is a dream when you've got your deck stacked with a whole bunch of 5 mana cards or less, and now you're really just able to just get them out there without paying their mana cost. And in a Gruul deck, if you've got all this landfall activity going on, which is just ramping up your strategy for endgame, then you're going to be pretty pleased if you just keep pulling more and more cards on the battlefield without needing to pay their mana cost and saving it for the next thing you do. So all in all, a win and a fun deck. So I'm glad you found a little bit of love towards it.
Oh yeah, I got some. I think Magic was the last pack I opened. I do have a stack. I'm saving them for different various things. I think some YouTube shorts, but I have Burger King or no McDonald's.
Oh yeah.
Promotional packs, like 4 of them, and then Magic Foundations play boosters.
Oh sweet.
So those are the 2 things that are just like hanging out with me.
Cool. Yeah, the Foundations is going to be a lot of like these older cards that they've re-released, ones that are just very strong cards, and commons, uncommons are going to be, a lot of them are going to be these reprints that are really good. And then a couple of new cards they've introduced of the rares and mythics that should be exciting. So hopefully you pull something fun, something that's actually used and playable, and maybe you'd entertain throwing into a deck. You never know.
I mean, a day will come.
I know,
where it's time to make a deck, and like
I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, shoot, I want to do that with like Pokemon and stuff too. And it's crazy. Even after all the inventory of stuff I have, I feel like I have no amount of Pokemon cards to actually make a deck. Like when it comes down to it, it gives me like hope for Magic, because like at the end of the day, I think what you do is you just go to TCG Player and you buy the cards you need. And then you have them, you sleeve them, and now boom, there's your deck. Because, like, what are the odds you have every single thing you could imagine for either Pokemon or Magic? I feel like it's less likely in Magic, but...
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the pictures, you know?
Yeah. There's a fun...
That's what I get hyped.
You should look up Tamiyo's Safekeeping. I want to talk about this one just briefly, because... Tamiyo's Safekeeping. And it's just a 1-mana forest card. It's so cheap, but it's a card that it's just so strong for 1 mana, because it's just when you have that untapped mana and your opponent does something nefarious and crazy and wants to remove, your Atali or whatever it is, like your commander, they can attack, they can destroy your commander like they could any card if the opportunity presents itself. And having a card like this, target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. You gain 2 life. That card just protects your monster card in any case. And if they do wait, you block with your insane commander, Atali, and now as the 11/11, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to destroy them. Now they play a destroy blocking creature card. You would be able to at least salvage your Italian, keep them alive with a card like this. In that moment, in that heated moment when there's very little other than playing an instant to be able to stop them in what they might be doing to target your creature. So this is one that's come about. It's now been phased out of standard. It was in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, that set that released, I think around like 2020 or so. But that card was a huge staple in a lot of my decks up until it got phased out. And now that I've been more or less playing with cards that I've just kept, to your point, many cards that I've collected and then some that I've bought on off of TCG, this is one that I've kept in my decks. I don't really have any need to only be playing standard now at this point, as I want to continue to grow my knowledge of the game and try to figure out how certain strategies from years ago will embed themselves into these newer strategies. But this is definitely a card that kind of is that extra glue when the red and the green are trying to fight over who's going to, which color is going to be the more prevalent one, the more prominent one in your deck. This can always just be there as backup to just keep anything that you're doing out there in motion and avoid your opponent from sweeping your feet off the rug.
A weird looking card.
Yeah. I brought it up just because it's just like this weird, strange, no, you shall not go, or whatever.
I like that. I like that it spells out like, no, you just can't destroy this.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things in sorcery where I guess it's like left up to interpretation at certain points, and I don't like that. I want to know I'm playing the game right.
You want to have that little breakdown of exactly what the move is on the card and what it means.
Yeah, I want the game to be me understanding the cards and mechanics, not guess. You know what I mean? The game. I don't want the game to be like, oh, who argued the best
You know,
to
there
to
is
convince their opponent.
there is such a funny card in Magic. I think it's just a card, and it's like it deals more damage to your opponent if they have any cards that they're playing with that actually have the parentheses and then the explanation of the mechanic. Because some of these cards, I don't know if it's just in certain prints or maybe the alternate art doesn't have the description and in the parentheses the explanation of, in fact, what the mechanism is. But I would imagine there's got to be. Yeah, I mean, there clearly are certain cards that just don't have what's in parentheses on some of them. And there's just this really goofy card I remember that was just like, it like deal, I forget exactly what it does, but it was just something so funny like that. Like, if your opponent has any cards that they're playing with that are like these novice beginner cards that explain things, then this card is going to deal more damage to them, which I thought was hilarious. Like, okay. Now, like, almost prompting you to want to make sure that you only have the cards that just have the mechanic words and that's it. Doesn't actually give you that description, but who knows? Maybe this was just a fluke card and they were like, all right, it's dumb. But it just, I remembered it because it was just so funny.
Well, look, I have a card that I want to present to you as well. And this time, it's actually, well, you know what? I'll tell you. I guess I'll tell you at the end.
Oh, all right.
In my segment, striking cards.
Who?
All right, Kevin. Picture this: you are viewing this scene from the eyes of a knight in shining armor, and when you look forward, you see your sword held in front of you, and a giant monstrosity made of I can't tell metal. Onyx, like dragon scale, I don't know. He's got a small waist and hips like a titan and a giant open gaping hole of magma or lava or power in his chest, and there are two heads of a dragon, the teeth jagged open towards you, these horns and and destruction all around, and like
what the hell?
Listen, dude, this is crazy. This is the real card. Okay, I have a question that you and the listeners can try to answer if you might know the card. This is just for bragging rights. There's no points or anything. The ground that the knight is standing on, is it A, solid, B, mushy, or C, thin as air? This is a tangent, I suppose, from our
solid, mushy, or thin as air. I mean, I would think it's lava. Maybe it's mushy. Final answer.
Mushy? All right. Well,
whatever ground might be mushy.
Was thin as air. And this is kind of a trick question because this is kind of like what made this card striking to me. And the ground, it's like hard ground, so it's solid, but it's not. Because it's as if a mountain has been crushed out from the knight's feet. And he still has a small piece that he's on, but the rest is just gone. It's not in the car. Like, there's some rubble falling, but apparently this titan has broken it up. And so, like, you have the knight, and he's holding the sword on this falling land, and he's in front of this monstrosity. And what made this so striking is I was like, what the fuck is this dude's plan? Like, what is he about to do? And, like, so is he a knight in shining armor who the town voted, like, go out and take care of this double-headed dragon?
Protect us.
Half-man. Yeah. Or, like, does this dude, is he about to take this down? Like, is he in control?
Yeah.
Like,
he's Diablo himself.
That's what I mean.
He's
like,
the Lord of Destruction.
Yeah. Well, like, what's happening? And it's like, this card, the more I looked at it, the more questions I had. And it's called Twin Flame Tyrant. It's a magic card. And it's a creature. It's a 3/5 creature. 3 mana and 2 fire, I guess. or 3. I don't know. It has 3 and then 2 fire lands. I'm assuming it's been a while since we played Magic together, like a week and a half ago. But that means I need like 3 of any and then 2 fire.
Exactly.
Right?
3 colorless and then 2 mountains. Yep.
And it's flying. It says if a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage instead.
Are you looking at the real? Do you have the real card in front of you?
It is, yes, but it's like the ultra shiny glossy version of it.
Sweet.
But yeah,
I believe that's one of these ones that it's like a little bit more valuable. It's not just like a $5 card. So cool.
no,
I mean,
no,
that's
it
a
was
fun
like I sorted from like most expensive and started scrolling until something caught my eye, and I clicked on this, and I initially didn't want to use it because I don't know, the last one I did with it was like a Sea King. I was able to draw or like to talk about these easily drawn, there's water, there's a bridge, there's lanterns, there's the Sea King. And I was able to break it down and kind of set a scene. And I gotta be honest, I still don't know exactly all the shit I'm looking at in this. Like, I'm telling you, like, the dragons have these weird, like, it's like a shoulder pad, but it's a horn, like, protecting the outside of each of their heads. So, like, the left head has one on its left, and the right one has one on its right, but it doesn't have one on either side of the other. And then it's got also horns, but it's got a torso, like a man. It kind of looks like the fist has broken this entire, what I assume would have been a mountain, out from under this guy. And so, like, the more I looked at this, it went from, like, I don't really have anything to talk about because it's just this monster, to, like, what the hell is going on with this card, dude?
Yeah.
Right?
A lot
like,
to talk
what's
about.
happening?
Yeah.
Like, I want the movie on that.
I'm about to say,
Like,
yeah, they're gonna have to
the
showcase.
scene?
Yeah. I want to know what is the storyline going to be about this movie. How are they going to incorporate the folklore, and are they going to add cards like this, like a dragon, into the mix? Is it going to be CGI? Are they going to actually find a dragon to play a dragon for the movie? I mean, what are we talking about here? Time will tell.
Wait, did you just say an actor or CGI? The dragon would definitely be CGI. It would be wild.
They're not going to find like
To
a
be
real
like-
dragon and be like, all right, we need you to play a dragon.
It's just Greg. He's just like, roar. No, dude, I'm imagining, because Pokemon was weird to see them live action animated, but they did a good job. So I'm assuming that I'm gonna be positive, and I rarely am, but I genuinely believe it's gonna be probably pretty good.
It's got to be. Yeah. There's probably so many hands on it. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, you get the terrible things. I mean, Dragon Ball Z was a huge franchise, and their live action, dude, I'm telling you, it was painful. And it's like, I'm not even saying that dramatically. It's like, I probably shouldn't even bring it up. We should just let it, like, die. But Pokemon was the opposite. Like, it was just an enjoyable movie. And I want that. I just want an enjoyable Magic movie. But I feel like they'll get it,
Epic, yeah.
They'll get it right.
Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be sweet to see what comes out of it. Well, awesome, man. Twin Flame Tyrant. I like that card. It's a very, very usable card in a competitive setting. Dealing double that damage instead is always a win. There's even a card out there that does triple the damage instead. Probably a little bit harder to play. And I think the triple one is like it incorporates Convoke, so you can use creatures you have to tap the creatures and then use them as mana, so you can get it out there earlier. That was the mechanic we were talking about last time, Convoke. But all these mechanics in Magic, they're all relative and easily digestible when you're talking about a specific deck combination, such as Gruul. Green and red, you kind of understand what's going on with it, what's the overall idea, and then there's a lot of these mechanics that work within those. So, like Trample, the one that now you're starting to see as a very useful mechanic in the game when attacking.
I gotta learn, like, there's so much, like, when I don't play it, it's hard to put it all together because I'm missing the foundation still. Because like I'll learn it when we play it, but then I kind of forget about it and I'm unsure about it. So like now stacking all the other mechanics on top, it's hard because I'm still like, oh wait, what does this even mean? I'm like reading the cards still. I'm like at that low of a level of play. But I mean, it's just like if I get reps, it'll become second nature.
Yep.
I was surprised at Pokemon. I still feel like I've got like some Pokemon instincts battling because after I would for a while, there would be an occasion or two where I would see someone do something and I was like, that was the mistake there. I've won this whole match now.
Oh.
I know the whole 6 turns that are about to happen. And it's like, I don't know where I got that. I think I just used to battle with my friend a lot. And I think he made me do that because he was able to play at that level. So I had to understand it in order to be competitive. And so I did.
Yep.
But Magic, it's like I'm a baby. Like I'm literally, you're like, like explaining an easy mechanic, and I'm still like, wait a second, what do these circles on this mean? Like,
yeah, but it's always like me looking at it from the perspective of when I was a novice and just early into this game. It's just like asking those questions and not being afraid to ask them. And I'm never going to be, discouraging you to like not ask a question because it's just usually just an easy answer. And then with a little bit more of an understanding of the game, like you're saying, you start stacking that all on top of itself. Before you know it, you feel like you've mastered maybe one of these colors really, really well. And then you just keep branching out. Get another color, introduce that into doing combinations, like, familiarize yourself with red, learn a little bit about what white decks are all about or green decks are all about, and then now focus on a strategy that incorporates both colors, taking some of what we've talked about, and then just building it up from there. Before you know it, you'll be crushing. But red is an easy one to start with because it's just straightforward.
I almost want like a tablet, like because I don't do it on my phone. Because my phone's really tiny and I have to charge my phone. I'm like always doing other stuff on my computer. I need like a dedicated arena tablet, and when I go to bed, just play a game.
Yeah,
like, I'm not even joking. Like I probably won't make that purchase, but I mean, shoot, if I could spend $100, I would probably go do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I have. I got one as a company gift. I got an iPad, and then with that, I literally just downloaded Arena and like a arty drawing, like a digital drawing app, and that's all I use it for.
Is it like what is it? An Apple product, or is it just like a random tablet?
It's just an Apple. It's just like an iPad. I don't know what generation it is. It was from a couple years ago.
I might go get one of these or order one from. Because dude, they're like $50.
Oh yeah, if you get a used or a refurbished one, you'll get one for real cheap. You don't need anything crazy. It just needs to process the power of an app, which I found the Magic, they love to keep adding and updating. So it's relatively a large file. Again, it makes it easier for me to just be like, well, I'll just use this on this standalone device and have really this be the only thing that I focus on.
I don't, and this sounds crazy to everyone in the world, I bet, but I don't ever charge my, I don't have a charger in my bedroom. As a matter of fact, I don't have a charger at all that plugs into the wall. Now that I'm saying that, I literally have it plugged into a USB-C on my PC. So I always, and I want it that way. I don't want to be glued to my phone, but it does make it annoying if I'm exhausted and I want to be looking through a Pokemon app. I have to put it down, but that's the design of that too.
Nice.
But I wouldn't mind because I have a TV in there. I wouldn't mind having certain entertainment. I just don't want to be doom scrolling, on some random app and then getting nothing from it. But I don't feel like I'm getting nothing if I'm playing Magic.
Yeah. You learn. I mean, and every time you lose, or alternatively, every time you win, you're ingraining that winning combination in your head. Or, okay, what mistakes did I make that got me to lose? And that's all I remember playing this game on Arena digitally. In the beginning was just all of the losses, me recognizing it. It was mainly just mistake after mistake. And I feel like I could have won had I just known a little bit more about the game. but I was never discouraged. Like like you, I love learning, especially when it's a new game. And again, I can't wait to learn more about sorcery. But Magic was fun to just piece by piece put together enough information and knowledge that now I do feel confident when I'm ripping open a brand new pack that I've never seen and trying to figure out, of these 15 cards, which is, excluding the rare and the mythic, which of these commons and uncommons is the best of them that can be kind of hidden in the mix. That's the fun thing, is actually like finding these cards that aren't worth much as far as money goes, but are very valuable in a competitive atmosphere. And again, why I love the game so much.
I've been having a hard case of the short attention span today. I'm just like nonstop while we talk. I'm like daydreaming. Like, you mentioned opening Magic packs, and I'm like, just, in my head, I'm ripping up Magic. I'm like so serious. It's been like this all day. I don't know.
It's okay. It's all good.
I don't know what's up. No, I'm hearing you the whole time. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not spacing out. I'm just like, I don't know. My mind is running, I guess. You know what I mean? With like racing thoughts. Just like, yeah, if I opened up a pack, I wonder what card I would get. I would focus on that. Then I would. I'm like just fucking out there.
I hear you, Kevin. I'm just not listening.
I am listening. I would say it because sometimes I do that too. I like space out.
It's all good. Yeah, I've kind of exhausted myself. I mean, this is a very, there's a lot to these decks in Magic, and they're pretty much bottomless topics. So it's nice to kind of summarize it, make it short and sweet, and then, there's no other follow-up questions, wrap it up and move on to the next one. There's like I said, there's 10 of these guilds or clans, as they call them, in Magic. So we've now talked about 2. And we'll continue to kind of break them all down in digestible content so that anybody who's not familiar will familiarize themselves with them and make a little bit more of an easier understanding. And then those of us who are proficient in Magic will just learn a little bit more about maybe some of these particular cards that come about and how they can be used. Like that landfall one, man, like there's so much strategy in that first card. I didn't mean to overwhelm you with it, but like there is just so much strategy that we could keep talking about that card.
Yeah, I mean, I like what we're learning. It's hard, like whenever you present, like you pulled it back when we started today. You were like, you're talking about the 2 colors of the cards, red and green, and then what they were. But then you started like fact spitting a little bit and like referencing and like. But every time if you reference something new, it brings up like more questions than answers. You know what I mean? Like you're like back in 2015 or something, and it's like, so sometimes it's just a lot. I mean, Magic is just such a big subject, but I am enjoying learning like about these decks. And today was the first episode I was like, I feel like I've retained a bit of strategy. Like literally, I don't know why today is what clicked, but I was like, yo, if I'm against like a red and green, I need to save my instant death for like a big bad. Like, my instant sorcery killing spell. Like And I think that's probably like a first. That's the first tidbit of strategy that's stuck in my brain.
Well, that's not the case. Yeah, before we started the podcast, you were talking about how you were remembering things from last time with Boros. So, hey, I mean, at the end of the day, if I can at least get you to remember what I'm talking about, then that's key.
But this is in the arsenal now. Like, I'm ready for that. Like, I'm just waiting for the opponent to slip up and like not see this coming. And I'm like, I don't know. That's good.
Well, everybody, it's been nice talking to you, and we're gonna play some Magic now. No.
Well, I mean, I do have one last segment. Are you ready for our closing bit here?
Let's go for it.
So, previously, we had been testing out a segment called Sedrum Satisfaction, which was a game with points and prizes, and that was like really testing out a segment for the first time for me in a segment like style. And Kevin, he answered questions, eventually won a PSA 10 card from the 2023 Upper Deck Legacy Collection of Diablo. And that was the card as well, Diablo.
Oh, yeah.
So today, Kevin and listeners, I want to take you on a new and improved magical journey. Okay? Now, imagine this. In the center of a hot, baking, empty asphalt lot lies a square building covered in glass pane walls on all four sides. Simple swinging glass door and posters of various card games, card game interests plastered all over the inside of the glass so that you can't even see what's inside. There's an enormous neon sign on top of the building which shine the words Carnival Card Shop. Now, Kevin, you find yourself in front of this building staring at the sign. On the front door, it says open with the words scribbled kind of strangely, crudely, and maybe awkwardly. It just says a can of worms. And you're looking at this open sign. And Kevin, how do you feel so far?
You know, I love the bright neon signs, so I'm just like a fly attracted to one of those little fly killers. So
good. I mean, that's why they make
it. Yeah, I think I'm just not really accepting that there's going to be a consequence to opening up that can of worms.
Yeah, I mean, it was just some scribble on a sign. Like, who even knows who wrote that? You know?
Yeah.
Well, you decide to step right in. And as you walk in, the door swings closed behind you. You find yourself in a long, narrow corridor with fabric curtains covering all the walls. So you can't see anything. Those are the walls, or the fabric coverings. The ceiling stretches up like strangely tall compared to the outside of the building into darkness. You can't see how they're hanging or anything like that. And you're looking up, but you simply can't see it. Your gaze, it comes down, and from the depths of that endless darkness, you see across from you the figure of a man leaning on a fully lit glass empty card display. And he's quite striking to you from head down. He's wearing a tall, tattered top hat with like bows and pins littering the entirety of it. He's got a large porcelain mask with like a twisted, eerie smile expression on there. And his torso, it's adorned with like a sleek, long-tailed pinstripe tuxedo jacket and a beautiful silk scarf like a tie around his neck. Fella. Very dapper and remarkably better condition than that of the hat. And as you're trying to process what the hell you are seeing with this man in his longer than average arms, he begins to push himself up, and as he stands fully erect, his eyes meet yours, and you hear, "Hello there, Kevin. Welcome to the Carnival Shop. Would you like to play a game with points and prizes?"
Oh, and I do respond, absolutely.
Well, I have 3 questions for you. Question 1, Pokemon, sorcery, or Magic the Gathering?
Ooh, let's go sorcery.
Second question, collect, battle, or explore?
Ooh, collect.
All right, hold on. I got to write these down. Third question, small, medium, or large?
Large.
Excellent choices. I'm actually very excited. I will prepare things right away. Give me 1 week's time. I will acquire the prize reflecting these selections. And the carnival games will then begin. Do you have any questions, Kevin?
What is your name, good sir? And do you find it at all striking that I'm mocking your tone?
I absolutely love it. It is all in the style of the carnival. And I am the carnival clerk. That is all you simply need to know me by. I'm here to help you. I will give you tips. And for today, whenever you come across a series of questions, selections, You can always ask me what they're for. Ask me for help. Ask me for anything you need, and I will do my best to help you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, clerk. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Whenever you're presented with choices and you're unsure of how to proceed, just ask. And thank you for coming to my shop. I will see you later for alligator. And at that time, the carnival clerk, he escorts you out. The door closes behind you, and that is the end of the segment for right now.
Beautiful. Well, I think we know
Now,
that there's going to be a lot to come, so exciting stuff.
Bro, so listen, I wanted to tell you about this in the beginning. Honestly, messed up the accent, and now we're going to have to stick with it. That's just how this guy is now. But I wanted to design this in the way of like an RPG game. Like where you have choices and they matter. And so, like for the episode today, I wanted to focus on like Path of Exile basics. Like what I loved about that game is it would present me with a challenge and I would do something and then learn. So like today, I gave you a bunch of choices. I didn't give you you didn't know, you just picked. I was wondering how that would go. Yeah. You just started going along, and like I want you to know that like there could be trickery, and so the carnival clerk, he's giving you that lesson. And so you can always like, what am I answering these questions for? And now you're going to have a prize reflecting the answers: sorcery, collect, and large. And so that I'll reveal what all that means in due time. This week is going to be for me to decide and collect that prize. And, I look forward to this segment, man. I hope... So beyond making a segment for podcast listeners, which is really was the idea behind the segments, we also started with conversations. It was just me and you talking, and we were like, this could be a podcast. And so my goal is to make this game so good and enjoyable to you that you were just personally fucking stoked to be playing it. And I don't know, man. Well, it might be hit or miss. I don't feel like Sedgum's Satisfaction was that, and I don't know that I'm capable of creating this RPG masterpiece. But man, I'm gonna prepare something every week, and I hope you enjoy it, man.
I'm already looking forward to it. So say no more. We can reveal the rest in due time as it comes about. And can't wait to open up the door again and see what's hiding behind the curtains.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, with that, Michael, lots that we discussed tonight, and it's all exciting stuff. I think there's going to be a lot more in these next coming weeks with some tournaments coming up in Magic. I'm going to look a little bit more into this recent set and play a little bit more, I think, myself, just so I can familiarize myself with some of these newer strategies that are coming up and about in the game of Magic. Maybe we'll dabble in some Pokemon, but other than that, did you want to add anything else before we wrap it up?
No, it seems good to me. I just tell everybody peace out,
Well, hey, with that, everybody, thanks again for joining us. And like always, we will catch you all next time.